I was interested to see what the series would include as it relates to Kirk Cousins having the rug pulled out from under him by the Atlanta Falcons after he picked Atlanta over Minnesota in free agency in early 2024. And after Michael Penix Jr. was drafted 8th overall, to the shock of everyone, in late April of 24, Kirk Cousins had a press availability mid-May in connection with offseason workouts. And he was asked a very simple and I think fair question. If you had known that the Falcons were going to use a top 10 pick on a quarterback, would you have signed in Atlanta? And he said, I don't deal in hypotheticals. Well, he did deal in hypotheticals for the camera and microphone and quarterback. And he said, you know, what we all believed. He felt a little bit misled by the Falcons' decision to use that 8th overall pick that could have been a player who would have helped the Falcons play better last year, not a guy who would have been on the bench until he took over for Kirk Cousins late in the season. And I think when you listen to everything that Kirk Cousins said, both the why he left Minnesota and how he felt once he found out that the Falcons were doing exactly what the Vikings told him they were going to do, take a quarterback early in the draft, I think he would have stayed in Minnesota on a year-to-year arrangement. That was ultimately the sticking point. The Vikings were offering a year-to-year arrangement to Kirk Cousins after the 2023 season, and the Falcons were willing to do something with a greater commitment. But the commitment was financial. And usually we assume that when a financial commitment is made, a football commitment is made as well. That's not always the case. So this year, after he made $62.5 million in 2024, Cousins will get $27.5 million to not play for the Falcons unless they don't trade him and Michael Penix Jr. gets injured or just flat out face plants. Who knows? We can't rule out anything. I think Penix will be fine. I think he'll be good. Maybe he could be great. The Falcons clearly see something in him. But Cousins didn't even get a full year as the starter in Atlanta, and he would have been the wire-to-wire starter if healthy in Minnesota in 2024. Now, would they have been any better than they were? Would they have been better suited to win a playoff game? I don't know the answer to that question. But I'm sure there are moments where Kirk Cousins wonders if he had just stayed with the Vikings, would he have enjoyed the same kind of success that Sam Darnold had in his first year with Kevin O'Connell? And when you think about what it would have meant for Cousins, another season with O'Connell, farther along in that curve, and look at how good Cousins was playing before he suffered that season-ending injury in late October 2024 at Green Bay, just 6 days after he had arguably the best game of his career in a Monday night win over the San Francisco 49ers. So the bottom line takeaway for me from watching that first episode as it relates to Cousins, for quarterbacks who are standing on the brink of free agency, you really do have to think through. It's the old adage, the grass isn't always greener, even if the money is more plentiful. Because Cousins had an issue with, not an issue like he's complaining, but it was an impediment he didn't expect. It wasn't the Achilles tendon. It's being in a new city with a new team, with a new offense, with a new coaching staff, with a new home stadium. There's a lot of things that were different. And the offense, and hey, this may just have been selective editing, but man, he's talking about how different the offense is, how it has all these motions and shifts that the Vikings offense didn't have. And then what happens week one against the Steelers? The moment that cemented the game for Pittsburgh, there was a failure by Cousins to process the sequence of when he puts tight end Ross Dwelley in motion, when he calls for the snap, he got it flipped around, and as the snap came, it hit Dwelley, caused a fumble. TJ Watt went and got it. And I think it's very compelling to hear Cousins acknowledge that and to see him on the sideline explaining to Dwelley that he'd been paranoid, that he was going to screw something like that up. And he did. And he owned it. So it's worth watching. I can't vouch for the rest of the episodes. Episode 1, worth watching. Episode 2, there's some moments where it was a little slow, but I'm going to watch the whole thing. I recommend the whole thing. And I prefer it to Hard Knocks, especially preseason and in-season, because when's the last time there was anything in preseason or in-season Hard Knocks that moved the needle? That created a talking point for PFT Live or a post at PFT. The best that Hard Knocks has given us in recent years was the offseason with the Giants in 2024, which was so misguidedly transparent from the Giants that no one will ever do offseason Hard Knocks again. That was good. Good for us, bad for the Giants. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.